welcome to episode 264 of Late Night Linux, recorded on the 10th of January 2024. I'm Joe, and with me are Félim.
AI-powered hoovers.
Graham.
Happy New Year.
And Will.
Hello.
Yes, Happy New Year. It's been almost a month, I think, or maybe 3 weeks since we last recorded, and we're recording early because of work commitments from one of us.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, so the news might not be that up to date. But before we get into that, just a quick shout out for the Dublin Linux Install Fest, which is on Saturday, February the 3rd. This is in the middle of Dublin, run by the Dublin Linux community. I think it's the Dublin Lug. Anyway, it's Connor from Linux Lads. It's his meetup page where it's organised. So Félim, you should go and help people.
It's on the north side. I'm not allowed to go across the river.
Right, okay.
Is there a wall there?
There should be.
Oh, well, hopefully they'll install GNOME for everyone just to spite you then.
Bastard, right. I have to go now.
Yeah, we'll link in the show notes anyway if you're around the Dublin area. Let's do some news then. The first one, what I learned from using a Raspberry Pi 5 as my main computer for 2 weeks. This is a piece by Andrew Cunningham for Ars Technica. And Mayrad on Mastodon wanted our thoughts on it, specifically one paragraph. Linux is a teetering stack of independently developed software projects that, on a good day, just barely manage to work together. The ARM version of Linux is that, but with even less support from major companies and third-party app developers. The Pi 5 is an important step towards correcting the situation, along with the Asahi Linux project for Apple Silicon Macs. The Pi is probably the best and most visible hardware for pushing consumer Linux forward into a more usable state. I don't think Andrew's massively wrong, is he?
Yeah, he is. He's hugely wrong. He couldn't be more wrong. Fuck that guy. Honestly, this is clearly a hit piece to try and wind people up. But honestly, fuck that guy. Fuck him.
No swearing, Félim. You didn't get the memo.
Okay. Yo, swear January. That's what I'm doing. Yeah, that's it. No, I mean it with the sincerest amount of reality. Fuck him, because a teetering stack of independently developed projects on a good day barely stick together. Go fuck yourself, honestly. I've been using it fucking full time for over 20 years. He can honestly show up just because he can't fucking use it. Because he says he's a, what is it? He's a Windows and Mac senior reporter. Fuck that guy. Honestly, I looked up, right? So I initially thought it was a different paragraph you were referring to because I can't count. And, I thought it was the fact that Widevine didn't work on ARM64. And yeah, he does seem to allude to that. Well, I fucking looked up on the Widevine support for Windows on ARM64. And you know what? Brave didn't get working until September after having a bug report since February of last year. So what does that mean? Fuck off. Honestly. Prick. We're one fucking minor fucking buffer overflow away from every PC that's a Windows machine getting wiped off the fucking internet. Fucking dickhead, honestly.
I have some sympathy with your point of view, Félim, but also I think that the reality is that this is the experience of the man in the street or the person in the street. And so regardless of the facts, what matters is the perception, and the perception is that it doesn't work very well. Now, is the Raspberry Pi the best platform to dip your toe into the water for desktop work? Well, the whole article doesn't mention whether or not they installed it off a USB drive or off an SD card or what. I have to assume it was running off an SD card, and I think that explains a lot of the slowness and the grinding to a haltness and stuff like that.
For storage, I used a SATA SSD in a USB 3 enclosure.
Well, there you go. So forget that. Fuck that guy.
I think you're right, and that a Pi is not a good introduction to desktop Linux. And the Pi was kind of supposed to be that, wasn't it? For kids and whatnot. But now there are small, low-energy x86 PCs which are way better if you want to do desktop stuff.
The Pi was never meant to be a desktop PC. It was meant to be an educational platform for kids so they could run Scratch and the like. So, it's not for normal people. It's a ridiculous proposal because that's not where it even begins from. What a dick, honestly.
But the Raspberry Pi Foundation, or specifically Eben, have said that this is a desktop class device. So it should be good enough. And in my experience, it is. I've run the desktop on a Pi for a long time, for hours and hours, and well, perhaps not weeks, but it's fine. It runs the browser fine, and I can move windows around fine. I have not experienced the problems that this chap had, but I agree with Joe, though, that this really is, if you want a small, cheap desktop experience for Linux, this is probably not the place to start.
A lot of this article reminded me of somebody who was perhaps paid to write words for a living, had a certain word count to kind of hit.
And almost like if it had more outrage, it might get more hits.
Maybe.
How interesting.
He obviously has had a target of 3,500 words. And I have to say, he's done a commendable job. It must have been hell for him to write this. It really must have been. And I think that's the second to last paragraph. He kind of tucked it away, hoping no one would notice. But no, Félim's noticed.
That's all I can see now. Him and his smug, wee, pointy-haired face. I'm getting a dartboard, I'll tell you that much. You're going right in the middle of it, Andrew. You and Peter Thiel, you could be pals on the bullseye. Prick.
It seems like I've spent 20 years trying to get everybody to use Linux and have everybody on board. These days, I think I've just become too cynical. I'm glad that Andrew's writing articles like this because the fewer people using Linux, the better.
Well, I just copy-pasted the whole article into LibreOffice. 3,548 words.
Jesus Christ, Graham. He's a word count savant.
That is 4 pages of a magazine.
Oh my God.
All right, Graham, time for you to shill your work stuff. Canonical to work on improving Snap support across Linux distributions.
So, yeah, this is news actually from Zygmunt Krunicki, who worked at Canonical for a long, long time and spent a long time working on Snapd, the daemon that runs all of the Snap packaging. He left a few years ago, and he's an amazing developer. He's really one of the best developers I've worked with. And he's announced that he's coming back to the Snapd team, and he won't be alone. And the focus for their work will be on Snap integration with distributions other than Ubuntu.
Yeah, in a couple of posts on Mastodon, he says, I will be returning as a Snap developer later this month. My main focus will be cross-distribution support. And unlike in the past, this will be my full-time job. And then in another one, he says, my first day at Canonical is on Monday. So that's the Monday that this episode is being released. So he's already started working on it as you listen.
I mean, speaking personally, I'm really glad that this is a new focus for Snap and that Canonical's investing money in it. I know I work for Canonical, but I think it's a great move.
Can I be a bit of a downer? Sorry.
Come on, it's expected.
Is this pissing in the wind at this point? Flatpak has won the desktop, at least. I mean, maybe different distros, server-side, maybe, and IoT and whatnot, but it just seems like the desktop is fighting a losing battle at this point.
Is it, though?
Flatpak's won. Yeah.
How do we know that?
Well, it's one in the enthusiast space, let's say.
Yeah, but that's the problem, isn't it? We see that side of it. We hear Fedora going on about it. We hear the likes of all the other people who weren't impressed with the Canonical announcement. Wasn't it summertime where they said, if you're a flavor, then you have to have the Snap Store, and everybody got a bit wound up about that.
Yeah.
We hear all of that, but I think we can still think that Ubuntu is a massive share of the Linux desktop space. And for that to be re-emphasized, I think that still puts them well ahead. I mean, I don't know. I have no numbers, but...
I know, I think it's a fair point. I think certainly there's a lot of mindshare for Flatpak. I've got Flatpaks installed. Some of my best friends use Flatpaks.
I don't use them, Graham.
Well, I use snaps, actually. I use the snap of Firefox. I use the snap of Zoom. And also this weird one called YTDLP by some fella called Degville.
We don't talk about that.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But I think I've said it before. I think having some competition is great, but also I'd like people to choose their packaging system based on what it does for them and the advantages, rather than, people talking on podcasts about what's best and what isn't best. And I think the more kind of engineering investment in all of these things, the better they'll become. And so this is a good sign.
Well, yeah, even if Canonical invests in snaps, makes them better, and then forces Flatpak to be better as a result.
Yeah.
It's win-win.
Yeah.
You can never have too much choice anyway, can you?
I know. I mean, that's worked with KD and GNOME. GNOME's improved massively since KD came along.
Has it?
Yeah. Yes, it has. Let's be positive. Let's start the year on a positive note. I don't know why I allowed
Andrew
you to
took a
rant
shit
against...
in my drink earlier, so we can fuck everybody else, is what you can do with that.
Okay, this episode is sponsored by Tailscale. Go to tailscale.com/LNL. Tailscale is an easy-to-deploy, zero-config, no-fuss VPN that allows you to build simple networks across complex infrastructure. Sign up in a couple of minutes, install Tailscale on a couple of computers, servers, tablets, or phones, and a few clicks later, they're all connected, no matter where they are in the world. It took me about 5 minutes to set up Tailscale on my phone and a little Gigabyte Bricks NUC-type machine, and then I could SSH into the bricks from anywhere. And from there, I could SSH into other machines on my home network while I was out and about, all without opening any ports or manual config. So if you want the benefits of WireGuard without the hassle of configuring it manually, don't take my word for how easy it is to set up. Give Tailscale a go yourself. Support the show and go to tailscale.com/LNL and try Tailscale out for free for up to 100 devices and 3 users with no credit card required. That's tailscale.com/LNL. On to a bit of admin then. First of all, thank you everyone who supports us with PayPal and Patreon. We really do appreciate that. If you want to join those people, you can go to latenightlinux.com/support. And remember that for various amounts on Patreon, you can get an advert-free RSS feed of either just this show or all the shows in the Late Night Linux family. And if you want to get in contact with us, you can email show@latenightlinux.com. Ah, God, do we really want to do more downer shit?
You should keep that in.
Let's do it then. The world of web browsers is in a bad way.
Who could have seen it coming, eh? Who could have seen this?
No one could have seen it. Especially not Mitchell Baker, that's for sure.
So this is a piece by Jenny List for Hackaday. And she points out that the only real other engine at this point is in Serenity OS, which I think we've talked about once or twice, which is very much a sort of hobbyist OS, apart from Gecko and Blink and WebKit. Although she does conflate Blink and WebKit, which I think is not accurate, really. What Apple's doing is slightly different from what Google are doing with Blink, but they are closely related, I suppose. And then to sort of smear a bit more shit on this one, what's next for Mozilla, a piece for TechCrunch, where they talk to Mark Sermon, who is Mozilla's president and executive director. And it's quite grim reading, really, that they're going to put AI bullshit into Firefox and concentrate on it. Or at least it was grim reading at first. But the more I read of it, the more I thought, well, if we're going to have AI bullshit everywhere, at least Mozilla trying to sort of make it as open as possible, that has got to be a positive thing. I don't know, maybe I'm just trying to be positive here.
Open like the server-side Pocket install you can do, yeah?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I think things are grim. Interestingly, I've started running Firefox full-time since I kind of made that pledge in our New Year special. And it generally works wonderfully. It's nice to have the freedom to do anything you want with the browser and know that it's by design. But you're also inundated on different operating systems by, Chrome. Google are terrible for this when you're using Google services. Install Chrome for a more secure or seamless experience. And it's the same with Apple and it's the same with Microsoft. And the odds are so overwhelmingly stacked against Mozilla for normal people on normal operating systems. So I know it's a tough challenge, but it's still really disappointing that it doesn't have, it's bumping along we're only just supporting it kind of threshold.
There is a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel, though, I think. As Google start locking down Chrome and the ad blockers don't work or are stopped from working, people, I hope, will go looking for a new browser. And the natural choice for that is Firefox, as we said before. For the vast majority of people, the browser is the operating system. They don't care whether it's Windows or Linux or Mac. All they care about is that they can get to Google, basically. Now, to a certain extent on phones, that argument doesn't work because the app is what they care about for the individual website. But on the desktop, the browser is the most important application on the desktop. I think that people care about their security online. I think that increasingly people are becoming aware of the snooping that Google is doing in the browser as well as on the websites. And so there is a chance that people will come back to Firefox, especially with ad blocking and the privacy stuff. Is that enough to support an entirely different web browser on the desktop, an entirely new one from the ground up? Not on its own, I don't think. I love the idea that there is a choice out there. There is another one which isn't Chrome, but I think it's too little too late. I think we as advocates for open source should put all our weight behind Firefox and try and really push this advantage that we have at the moment, which is ad blocking, and get more people on board. Once they're on board, then maybe we can care more about another browser.
I've installed uBlock Origin on my phone, Firefox. So there you go. I hope you're happy now, Joe.
I am happy. Install it on the desktop for fuck's sake.
No, I don't need it.
The world needs it.
I've got Privacy Badger. I mean, I kind of prefer that because I know who they are. It's the EFF. I don't know. I feel a bit weird about it on the desktop, though.
And you do DNS-based blocking otherwise?
I do, yeah. I've got Pi-hole as well. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, why not belt and braces, though, is the way I look at it, for the odd thing that might slip through. But what do we think about Mozilla moving into the AI era and trying to keep it open, or trying to, use their influence to make it as open as it possibly can be?
If I leave aside the AI bit, which I clearly love, so, I mean, obviously I'm all in on that, but the problem, I think, is the fact that what influence have they got? They don't have any. They've got no browser market share, therefore zero influence. They've been so busy, in my opinion, chasing the next thing to try and be the biggest and best at that they've managed to piss away any advantage they may have had to be relevant by the time that they figure that one out.
Did you read about that on your Firefox phone?
The picture of him holding one of the same branded phones that I bought, yeah, really not winning me over with that one. I bought two of those fucking things, the Geeks phone and the orange one that they had. There is a Geeks phone as well, but it's a different one. But my God, what a fucking shit show that was.
I think you've hit it. In principle, I wouldn't be against it. But in practice, I'd much rather, as we've said before, Mozilla focuses just on the browser and the browser experience.
It's funny. When I'm eating, I watch old sitcoms, and at the moment watching The Nanny with Fran Drescher. It's brilliant. But today was a clip show, and that's what this episode of this podcast feels like, a fucking clip show. Let's just bash Mozilla. Let's get Félim wound up about someone shitting on Linux. We'll have a bit of KDE love in a bit.
We don't like snaps very much.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not supposed to reveal this secret because the old listeners die, and we're supposed to be attracting new listeners who think this is all fresh and edgy.
Oh, that's right. Okay, this episode is sponsored by Entroware. Go to entroware.com. Entroware sells computers with Ubuntu and Ubuntu Mate pre-installed. They've got a range of desktops, laptops, and servers, and most parts are configurable, so you can pick the CPU, RAM, and storage that's right for you. If you can't find exactly what you want, then do contact them and they'll work with you on a bespoke solution that's perfect for your needs. They ship to the UK, Republic of Ireland, France, Germany, Italy, and Spain. And if you do buy one of their machines, there's a little drop down at checkout and you can select Late Night Linux so they'll know that we sent you. So go to entroware.com for all your Linux computing needs. Impossible to create AI tools like ChatGPT without copyrighted material, OpenAI says. So let's go for this classic hit, shall we? But this actually, I think, could be big. You've got the likes of the New York Times and various publishers and authors suing OpenAI and basically Microsoft at the same time. And their defense in a submission to the House of Lords Communications and Digital Select Committee was because copyright today covers virtually every sort of human expression, including blog posts, photographs, forum posts, scraps of software code, and government documents, it would be impossible to train today's leading AI models without using copyrighted materials. And I've seen a lot of takes on this. Molly White had a hilarious one, which was, it's impossible for me to become a millionaire without robbing banks, so therefore robbing banks is okay. Slightly extreme, but nevertheless, they're basically admitting that they don't have a legal business model, aren't they?
Well, I mean, I boosted somebody this morning that had a good one with Yabellini on Mastodon, and they said, do you realize we live in a reality where Sci-Hub is illegal and OpenAI is not? Both effectively doing the same thing. It's not even robbing a bank in the real world. This is literally text that can be copied, and one is illegal, one is not, and they are both effectively the fucking same thing.
It's not legal yet, I suppose. It's not illegal yet, I should say. The Sci-Hub one versus OpenAI, OpenAI will get clobbered with the same rules. It's just not there yet. We're just lagging behind. So I think my opinion on this is Firstly, Félim, you should start breathing into your paper bag now. And secondly, I'm with OpenAI on this.
What?
This information is published in a manner for which it should be consumed by the public. The models basically read every single book that's ever been written and then string it together and make sense of it all. That's no different to me reading a whole scientific paper about a particular topic and then telling you about it.
What's on page 34 of Tale of Two Cities? I bet if you asked fucking Thingamabob that, it would tell you exactly, verbatim, word for word, that whole page.
What a useful tool.
What a useful tool, but equally not legal. Well, okay, for that one probably, because it's hundreds of years old or whatever, but yeah. You know exactly what I point. Stop being so fucking argumentative, you bollocks.
As a counterpoint, there was an article, I'll see if I can find it, that I came across earlier this week, which I think came out of Google, possibly Microsoft, about replacing lithium in batteries. And they trained the OpenAI model on a whole bunch of data, and it had done what they claimed was hundreds of years of work in a couple of days and come up with some potentially new, interesting compounds that could help reduce the amount of lithium that is needed in batteries. So a good outcome. And the way in which that outcome was got to in a useful amount of time was by having a robot read all of the data that was available and make sense of it in a much reduced set of time. If we say that you're not allowed to do that with public knowledge, then are we not saying that it's the same as not being allowed to read books and tell people about what you read?
Incidentally, what's on page 34 of Tale of Two Cities? I'm sorry, but I can't provide specific excerpts from copyrighted text.
Fuck you, ChatGPT, you fuck.
However, I can offer a summary or discuss themes, characters, and much more about A Tale of Two Cities if you're interested.
It's hardly copyright still, though. That's the funny thing. It isn't. It's more than, what? How old is it? Is it not Dickens? I don't know. It's English literature. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest, but there should be no reason but reproducing that. No problem.
It is Dickens and 1859.
Yeah, so it's talking out its fucking hole like usual then. Hashtag, I am not a lawyer. I don't understand how that works properly, but to me that sounds like bollocks.
You do make a compelling argument, Will, but also I would like to see them get fucked over.
I think that's the problem though, isn't it? It's somebody making money out of other people's work and giving zero back to them, like zero. And burning a whole lot of fossil resources while they're at it.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. It is the unbalancedness of the situation which is the real problem.
I think I'm with Will as well, unfortunately. Listening to you talking, it reminds me of like the MP3 revolution and how Félim's side is basically the music industry of the day. That
Right, Graham, you're going on that fucking dartboard as well. Jesus Christ. What am I, fucking Lars Ulrich to you? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you are the Lars Ulrich of this podcast, a shit drummer.
However we felt about MP3 downloads and peer-to-peer, the cat was already out of the bag. It was too powerful to ignore, and however you looked at it, it was going to become dominant. And you were
hang on a second, though. No. Wait a second. You see, you're wrong because OpenAI is not doing this for the good of humanity, and it's not even open.
Neither was Monkey ML.
It has open in the name, but it's not fucking open at all, is it?
No, but that's not the point.
That's the thing. Like, if this was Mozilla doing this, I would not have as much of a problem with it. If it was really open, really valuable to society, was an engine that people could look at and tweak and learn from.
But my point is that it's going to change society regardless of what you think. Just like MP3s did for the music industry. The music industry just in the end, I mean, if you look at the revenue of the music industry, it was in dire straits in like 2000, 2002, 2003, and didn't have any kind of plan. Now, admittedly, artists aren't getting any of that money anymore, but the music industry...
Well, thank God for that.
...itself has saved itself by just becoming the evil that you hate.
Yeah, Spotify are cleaning up, but artists are getting literally fractions of a penny for plays. It's fucked.
It's fucked, but we couldn't have banned MP3s. It would never have worked.
Yeah, okay, I'm not saying we should, but equally, there's no moment here where people are saying, you know, fair enough, Apple were the biggest person that was able to shoehorn this in. Was we're not going to have DRM, because we were looking at having DRM'd formats for music quite a lot. Even Apple themselves with theirs, which I can't remember what it was, but we were lucky that they didn't want to continue that direction and were able to strong arm MP3 being the accepted one. We don't have anybody being that savior yet. Mozilla can talk its game all at once, but until it is able to.
Well, ironically, if we had DRM on web content, then OpenAI wouldn't have been able to read any of it.
Yeah, or just paywalls even.
I think we'll come to look at OpenAI as the Model T Ford of the AI model. It will become the source of many open source models and open source toolkits, and the next generation will be better and better still. And so I think that really this is going to be a blip in history. It may be the beginning of something, but open source, I'm confident that open source will become the leading light in all of the machine learning, AI, large language model world. And so we have some teething problems to overcome, but eventually open source will win through.
I'm afraid I'm pressing X to doubt.
I agree with all. Fight.
Fuck you. Both of you on the board. That's what you go.
I agree with Graham that the cat's out of the bag and there's nothing we can do about it. But I also don't think that open source is going to be the default by any stretch.
No, not a fucking chance.
I don't think that open source even means the same thing when you're talking about this LLM stuff. Because of the training data, the weights and everything, you can't really apply an open source license to it in the way that we know now. You'd need some very clever people to come up with a new way for it to be the equivalent of open source. And I just don't see that happening. Maybe it is, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but to me, it just seems like we're going down a bad road.
ChatGPT says we're not.
Oh, well, that's fine then. That's absolutely fine. Félim, you've snuck a micro KDE corner in. Plasma 6 release candidate 1.
I'd say it's more nano, but yeah. So 50 days or less, and it's the release of Plasma 6, which is scary, and they have an RC1 available, and anybody who can try it, even if it's a VM or whatever, I would encourage them to do so. I had all intention to do that over Christmas, but didn't get around to it, so I will get on that.
This is getting very close then.
Yeah, very close.
So we really should be testing it if you care about Plasma.
It's just a matter of weeks, isn't it, until Plasma 6 release?
Yeah, end of February. It's scary.
Well, 50 days, yeah. It's just over a month, yeah.
Blink and you'll miss it.
Is it going to go in Neon straight away then? Are you going to be running it?
It should, yeah, be pretty much in there. I mean, I think there'll probably be a bit of a delay, but yeah, it'll be relatively quickly in there. Every time there's a new release, it's been pretty fast. I mean, obviously, Neon didn't exist in Plasma 4 to 5, but yeah, I think they will be pretty quick on the ball with that. I mean, there's already libraries, like, as part of the normal downloads at the moment, there's even Qt6 stuff comes in, because so stuff has it available to work on. So yeah, I think it'll be pretty straightforward. Jinx.
I really hope the audio stack is solid.
Well, we'll find out in what show number will that be?
I dread to think. Well, we better get out of here then. We'll be back next week with probably some discoveries and who knows what else. But until then, I've been Joe.
I've been Félim.
I've been Graham.
And I've been Will.
See you later.